The US dollar inched higher on Tuesday after solid company earnings and a glimmer of improvement in US-China trade ties lifted sentiment. Now, China's Vice Premier Liu He held a call with US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on Tuesday to discuss trade issues and forge a new path after the end of the Donald Trump era. Liu expressed concerns about US tariffs and sanctions that after Trump had imposed tariffs on Chinese products worth billions of dollars in 2018. US President Joe Biden has launched a review of the US tariffs and trade strategy, but his administration also says that China's massive state subsidies for national companies, intellectual property theft and other factors create a heavily uneven playing field in trade. And for more on that story, I'm joined now by DW's Clifford Coonan, our China expert. Clifford, it's always good to have you with us. OK, so the two sides were talking to each other, China's Vice Premier, the US Treasury Secretary. How significant is that and why now?
Well, I think it's significant that they're talking to each other and not shouting at each other because relations have been really very, very strained. If you cast your mind back to March when Anthony Blinken met the Chinese side in Alaska and they were almost hostile, the real tensions. And then in recent weeks, we've seen Catherine Tai, who's the US trade czar. She's been making slightly more conciliatory tone, but she's also been quite firm in terms of what the Americans want. They want the Chinese to stick to the terms of previous President Trump's Phase 1 trade deal. So the Americans are kind of holding their ground, but at the same time seem to be more ready to negotiation than the previous administration.
So you say it's always better to talk to each other than to shout. But was it just a friendly call, just an aid to say, OK, let's not let us not escalate the situation? Or do you think there'll be next steps to come?
I think there will be next steps to come because this is the third this month now that we've seen, or within the last 4 weeks anyway. And I think we're seeing a bit more conciliatory than before. Also from the Chinese side, there seems to be a bit more give. In the Chinese state media today, this video call was given huge prominence and seen as being very positive. Sanctions are kind of hurting, tariffs are hurting both sides in some ways because it's not like America is getting much benefit from it, and it would like to free up certain sectors of the economy to start exporting again as the economy comes out of the pandemic very slowly. So I think it's coming from both sides, excuse me, that they're hoping for things to get better.
Right. Well, it would certainly be good news for the global climate, for the environment, because both the United States and China and their cooperation is crucial. Do you think anything will happen along those lines, especially now with COP26 coming up?
Yeah, I think looking ahead to the weekend, there's a couple of factors here. One thing is that Xi Jinping hasn't left China in, I think, about 630 days, which is the longest of any of the G20 leaders. So it's partially COVID-related, but also related to other aspects, domestic politics and whatever. And he probably won't go to Glasgow. But I think the US and China certainly need to be talking to each other about climate. There's an argument, of course, that that maybe China makes a lot of promises, but at the moment, with the economy slowing, it's going back to coal. So there's a lot of these issues which need to be dealt with very, very quickly. So I think that yes, I think it is good overall that they're talking again. Once it'd be interesting to see that people will hold their ground while still having dialogue, as averse to just sort of conflict.
All right. Let's stay on the positive. They're talking again.
Yeah.
Clifford Coonan, thank you so much.